By now, it has become a cycle. We spot a legendary player, we start following them, we start supporting their games, but then it all comes crashing down, solely because they can't stay within their clear lines of the law. Nick Kyrgios, the master at tennis, has recently been under fire for similar reasons, and we heard the case has just been adjourned. Let's dive into the details. First up, let's talk about his court case being postponed. As we all know, the Wimbledon finalist's initial hearing in the ACT Magistrates Court was scheduled for August 2nd, but was delayed by 3 weeks to August 23rd. On Monday, his attorney, Michael Kukulies-Smith, asked for yet another delay, this time until November 25th. The 27-year-old Kyrgios was represented by attorney Michael Kukulies-Smith at the Australian Capital Territory Magistrates Court despite not being required to appear, so he didn't have to make a plea or submit a bail request. Kukulies-Smith put forward the request for the case to be continued until November 25th, but it was denied. Judge Louise Taylor instead decided to set the hearing for October 4th. Nick, on the other hand, is still in the country working on his game for the US Open, which begins the following week, and he wasn't obligated to be present in the proceedings. It may not be November 25th, but Nick, in an objective sense, was still granted an extension, just not as long as he'd hoped for. Let's see how this delay plays out in court this October. Coming up, why did the judge deny the request for the delay? The court proceedings seem pretty serious, so we're going to give you an update on what went down. Let's take it from the top. Nick Kyrgios' attorney made the court aware of the issue by stating that his client spends relatively little time in the ACT, as the judge is undoubtedly aware. Kukulies-Smith said, "It's an application, which is capable of settling the case." During the brief hearing about the application to delay the procedure, he added that he wouldn't discuss the topic more because of the presence of several journalists and media personnel in the court. The request, as we all know, was denied by Magistrate Louise Taylor because she reasoned that the court cannot allow extensions for reasons unknown, and when it came to accommodating the Australian tennis player's schedule, Ms. Taylor simply stated that several defendants would wish for accommodations and leeway that the court can't approve. Up next, what are the charges against Nick related to? We realize that the case made against the tennis player in question seems to be all over the place, but we're going to try and explain the charges against him the best we can. Despite the fact that Kyrgios' name was omitted from an Australian Capital Territory policing statement, the Canberra Times reported the former world number 13's counsel had suggested the charge was related to a domestic relationship. The accusation that served as the basis for the prosecution was made by Kyrgios' ex-girlfriend, Chiara Passari, according to Australian media. The incident in question allegedly occurred in December 2021, and according to Wales Online, the Australian tennis player is accused of seizing his ex-girlfriend Passari. Kyrgios spends very little time in Canberra, where he grew up, according to Kukulies-Smith, who testified in court. Kukulies-Smith hinted at applying for a later court appearance to end the matter, but the attorney didn't elaborate any further on what that would mean for the case. In July, when Kyrgios was having a career-best run at Wimbledon, police issued a summons against him. The maximum sentence for the offense is 2 years in prison. At Wimbledon, the Australian tennis player advanced to his first Grand Slam final, but fell to Novak Djokovic in 4 sets. He said at the time that his attorneys had advised him not to comment on the legal dispute. Kyrgios may be subject to more legal proceedings in Britain. After he complained, a tennis fan who had been momentarily barred from center court during the men's Wimbledon final said she is suing him for defamation in an effort to clear her name. Next, what is the maximum punishment that Nick is looking at? Sentences may vary according to jury and judges, but let's see what the law says. The maximum prison sentence for the charges is 2 years, according to Canberra Times. The professional tennis player's exclusion from the championships has been urged by the domestic abuse awareness organization Solace Women's Aid. It said that similar procedures should be implemented because Wimbledon felt free to prohibit players from Belarus and Russia in response to the war in Ukraine. The All England Club, which oversees Wimbledon, announced that it will refrain from commenting on Kyrgios' case due to pending legal proceedings. While nothing is set in stone, we reckon we'll have to wait for the court proceedings to end to find out what fate has in store for Nick Kyrgios. Now, what does the media have to say considering Nick's game and case? The erratic quarterfinalist Nick Kyrgios' Wimbledon run has been derailed by the allegations of common assault he's facing back in Australia. Less than a day after receiving a summons to appear before the ACT Magistrates Court on August 2nd, Kyrgios will play Chilean Cristian Garin, an unseeded opponent, for a spot in the semifinals on Wednesday. According to the Canberra Times, the professional tennis player's attorney, Jason Moffat, said his 27-year-old client was taking the claim extremely seriously and that the assault may have involved a former partner. After receiving fines of $10,000 for defeating British wildcard Paul Jubb in the first round and another $4,000 for an acrimonious unceremonious third-round victory after Stefanos. Kyrgios has already come under fire from London tabloids for his behavior during the opening week of the championships. Let's wrap it up by having a look at Nick in Wimbledon. Kyrgios appears to be playing at his peak once more and will go against Novak Djokovic in the Wimbledon championship match. Rafael Nadal withdrew due to injury concerns in the semifinal, giving the Australian a walkover victory. So far in the competition, Kyrgios has defeated players like Christian Garin, Stefanos Tsitsipas, Paul Jubb, and many more big names in the game. Now for some other news that might interest you. First up, is Nick Kyrgios really being sued by a fan? Tennis player Nick Kyrgios of Australia is being sued by a Wimbledon finals spectator who he claimed was drunk out of her mind. The professional tennis player, who lost in the final to Novak Djokovic in July, complained to the referee about the woman, claiming she had consumed around 700 beers. The woman, of course, calls these allegations untrue and reckless. She said that not only did this cause significant damage on the day, resulting in temporary removal from the arena, but his false allegation was broadcasted to and read by millions around the world, causing significant damage and distress to her and her family. According to Kyrgios, when she was serving in the Wimbledon final, she was distracting him. She was drunk out of her mind in the first row, talking to him in the middle of the game, and had to be ejected. After receiving legal advice, Nick will now be the target of defamation charges filed by Anna Paulus. Yikes! Next on our news radar, Rafael Nadal falls to Nick Kyrgios in straight sets. Rafael Nadal won the Cincinnati Masters for the first time in 2013 during his perfect North American summer. Rafael lost early in his next two trips to Ohio, hoping for a better run in 2017. Nadal advanced to the Cincinnati quarterfinals by defeating Richard Gasquet and Albert Ramos Vinolas. Rafael faced Nick Kyrgios in the semifinals and was eliminated after 6-2, 7-5 loss in 80 minutes. It was their second match of the day, and Nick saved more energy to come out on top. Energized by a big stage and a great opponent on the other side of the net, Nick maintained focus without the usual gaffes or tantrums, determined to play his best tennis. He outplayed Rafael in every aspect, scoring 15 points in 10 service games and fending off 2 of 3 break chances to maintain focus. Lastly, Kyrgios takes out Medvedev in Montreal. Nick Kyrgios won the biggest scalp of his hot streak, defeating world number 1 Daniil Medvedev 6-7, 2, 6-4, and 6-2 in a heavyweight National Bank Open presented by Rogers second-round match in Montreal. Kyrgios frequently used serve and volley strategies to take advantage of the defending champion's deep positioning on return. He also survived to break points during the 2-hour match at the ATP Masters 1000 event. According to the professional tennis player, this was the 4th meeting that they'd had, and he's had some success against him in the past. The man had improved his ATP head-to-head series record against Medvedev to 3-1 with the win. Continuing, he said that Medvedev had beaten him before too. He felt like they both would know each other's games well. The Australian tennis player was not the type of player that goes into the match looking at rankings or anything similar. It's just who he was playing and what kind of ball they were giving him. No matter the legal cases, we must say that Kyrgios sure is an exceptional player, isn't he? That's a wrap for this video, folks. Do let us know your thoughts on Kyrgios' court proceedings. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you all later. Bye!